But first to that story coming in, it seems the cabinet now closing in on that much elusive consensus on the anti-rape bill. That's right. The group of ministers which had been meeting till a short while ago, we believe, has now finalized the new anti-rape legislation. The cabinet is likely to take up this draft tomorrow. As we've been pointing out, the age for consent as far as sexual relations are concerned has been reduced from 18 to 16. The draft has replaced sexual assault with rape, making this law gender specific. Stalking and voyeurism have been made non-bailable offences, and there is now going to be a provision for false complaint that is now going to be removed from the IPC. The first reaction coming in from the government.
What happened?
Well, we have gone through word for word every provision of the proposed bill, and all issues have been resolved, and now the matter will go to the cabinet tomorrow, and hopefully it will be passed tomorrow.
So the age has been brought down to 16?
Well, I don't think that we can tell you exactly what we have done qua each clause, but I don't think that's fair before the matter goes to the cabinet. But there are no differences of opinion.
Okay, so the catchphrase, all issues have been resolved. Let's try and get in more from our Deputy National Bureau Chief, Pallavi Ghosh, who's been tracking the story very, very closely. Pallavi, rape, sexual assault, rape. The cabinet has clearly been dithering on whether they want a gender-specific or a gender-neutral word to describe these assaults. What is the final conclusion?
Well, finally, a consensus seems to have been evolved on those two key contentious issues. One, it's now going to be gender specific. See, unlike the ordinance which did speak about sexual assault, which basically made reference to sexual abuse of and by both men and women, this has essentially gone along with the Home Ministry's recommendation and stuck to the word rape, which is more woman-centric, which means the perpetrator of the crime is going to be a man and the victim of the crime is always going to be a woman. So they've replaced the gender-neutral word sexual assault with the more specific word called rape. And the second important point, and I think a more important point, which in many sense is radical, is the age of consent for sex, which has been reduced from 18 to 16. Now, this has been the main cause of the deep division within the government and also within the cabinet. In fact, Krishna Tirath, coming out of the cabinet meeting yesterday, had spoken about the fact that the age of consent actually should be at 18 and should not be at 16. Well, the argument which was given in the group of ministers meeting today also was one has to keep in mind the social realities, early puberty, and also the fact that, for example, in rural areas, one does have early marriages, and therefore we should avoid criminalization of sex, and that's the reason the age of consent has been reduced from 18 to 16. Stalking and voyeurism, of course, has been made a non-bailable crime. But more importantly, Anubha, is that the safeguard which the government has often been talking about in case of frivolous complaints, well, that safeguard has been removed, which means if you make a frivolous complaint, you are not going to be punished stringently. So essentially, a difference is ironed out. Cabinet is going to be taking it up tomorrow evening. Cabinet is likely to pass it. The bill is likely to come up in Parliament maybe as early as the 18th, and hopefully it does get passed. But there are deep political differences cutting across party lines.
Right. Pallavi, two important points that you're making there. After two non-starts, the cabinet now looks set to pass this particular draft, but there is an all-party meeting that has been called. Does the government believe it will have the agreement of all those political parties that you've been mentioning?
Well, yes, you know, the difference which was there in the cabinet, which really did much damage to the government and the cabinet's efforts to show that it's going to come out with a strong anti-rape law, actually forced the Prime Minister to set up this group of ministers. They've done their work. The papers are now going to be kept ready. The cabinet note is going to be prepared for tomorrow evening. But the battle doesn't really end there. But that's what the government strategy has been. Why take the blame only on itself? And that's the reason they've thrown it open to other political parties. There are going to be parties, for example, like the Samajwadi Party, which may have reservations over many of these clauses, for example, the age of consent being reduced from 18 to 16. In that case, the government strategy is extremely clear. We'll not take the blame only on us. We're going to throw it on all political parties. The government is also ready for the possibility that the bill may actually see a repeat of what happened with the Lokpal bill, which means this anti-rape law may actually once again be referred to the select committee.
Fair enough. Pallavi Ghosh will continue to track that story with you. Of course, tomorrow will be that big cabinet meet that is expected to give the green signal to this draft.